Hi, I'm Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and I'm here today to talk about my favorite mechanism in a slightly older game called Honga. I got to play Honga with Kevin and his son at Geekway to the West this past week. Kevin is a Stonemaier ambassador, and Kevin offered to teach this game to me. It is a really, really clever game in a couple different ways. One is it involves a series of mini games. It's really 9 total mini games. The board is divided into one big grid, although the art doesn't make it look that way, which is a good thing. I think the art comes together really well. But it is a grid of a 3x3 grid of 9 different mini games. And the way you activate these mini games is really, really clever. You basically place what is the equivalent of a worker, but instead of being a worker, they are these circular tiles. You only have one in your hand, and you draw one at the end of your turn to replace the one that you placed. Here's a slightly upgraded one. There's a way that you can get slightly better tiles. And on your turn, you take your tile. You don't choose it. You take your tile, and you place it on the board so that it's right in the middle of 4 different actions. And then you take those actions based on the hands that are directed towards those actions. If there are no hands, then you don't gain those actions. You don't use those mini games or gain those benefits. A very simple example, you can kind of see it here, is that there's a hand in the middle. There's a hand facing Honga, which is the town, the village tiger, or lion, saber-toothed tiger, I think. Honga likes to be petted, likes to get some attention, so you might want to direct some hands towards Honga. There are 3 hands on this tile that face this benefit right here, which I think is a fish. You're going fishing, and because there are 3 hands, you gain 3 fish. So depending on the number of hands facing any individual minigame, you activate that minigame that number of times, or gain that benefit that number of times. And you can see on this tile too, there's no hands on either of these sides, so you don't activate these minigames. I thought this was incredibly clever. This idea that every turn you have a slightly different decision about which actions you can take, but really on any given turn there's no blocking. You can choose any action you want based on the tile that you have, but you have to choose which mini games do I want right now, how many times do I want to activate them, or how many times do I want to gain those benefits, and do I want to give attention to Honga, this tiger in the middle of the table? Because if you don't give attention to Honga, as you can see right here, Honga wanders over to your part of the village and eats your food. So you have to be careful about that while you're playing. Really clever mechanism. I don't think I've seen this style of worker placement before. I think there's a game coming out about dreams. I forget the name of it. That has a mechanism a little bit like this. Basically, you kind of place a worker between a few different actions. And I've seen it slightly in Pillars of the Earth, which has an event system a little bit like this, where you draw a square tile, you choose where to orient that tile, and that matters. But I don't think I've seen it quite like Honga does it. I think this is a very, very clever mechanism in the game. And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Honga, or if you can think of any other games that do this, where you're kind of placing what is effectively a worker between multiple actions and gaining more than one action based on exactly where you placed it or which actions you placed that worker between. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks.